Yeah, since you already know, I will talk about it then.
Okay, that's
Like,
fine.
in the Shrek universe, like, everybody's like a storybook character, like a fairy tale character. Like,
Yeah, how basically Shrek and The Witcher are in the same universe.
yes, exactly.
Shrek happened after the conjunction of spheres.
Yes. So,
What?
I was watching these scenes, right? And I'm like, "Right, that's cool and all, right? Like, this wolf bounty hunter character, but like, everybody in this universe is like a pre-established character. So I was like, what character could this possibly be, right? And then I was like wondering the whole time, and then I saw the movie, and like I was like, oh shit, it's the Grim Reaper, it's Death. Like that's the
Yeah,
Fable character. It's supposed to be. It's Death. That's so cool because he's got like the black hood, and he's got the scythe, and he's got the. It's fucking awesome. But it's a really good movie.
nice. Yeah, yeah. I'm super down to watch it. Oh, that reminded me. When are we getting Wolf 2? The fuck, guys? Why is it taking so long? When are we getting Wolf 2? Okay, the problem is the name is horribly cursed now because of things out of their control, but there was a Telltale game that was really good. I think it was based off, it might be Robert Kirkman, and it was based off some graphic novel.
Robert Kirkman, he's the Invincible guy, right? The
Yeah,
Walking Dead and
Invincible and
Invincible.
Walking Dead, yeah.
Yeah.
It was some comic book, like graphic novel thing. It may have been him, but it could be someone else, I don't remember. But it was based off of this universe where basically same thing where like, oh, it's basically if all of the fairy tale characters got together and moved to New York City and
Okay.
it was super gritty, like Watchmen's take on superheroes, where like a lot of them are scumbags because they're just living in the fucking shitty boroughs of New York.
Right.
It's called The Wolf Among Us. Unfortunately, had to be titled Among Us.
Yeah.
So now it's super cringe to say it, but uh, the first game was super cool, and the end of it is like baiting a sequel, and then Telltale went out of business and then came back, and they have allegedly been working on season 2, but it's been like 10 fucking years or something.
Jesus, man.
But they're like, no, it's coming, don't worry, it's, very soon now, we swear. And just reminded me, like, yeah, Shrek and The Witcher and Wolf Among Us are all fairy tales, but, some extra thing. I'm
Yeah,
waiting on
that's
Wolf
true.
2.
Some extra thing.
Yeah, like Shrek is like, oh, what if they were like just all, existing and, what wacky hijinks that causes. And then The Witcher is like, what if all of the fairy tales entered the same planet and they were racist to each other? Like, what if
Is that what The Witcher is? I know absolutely nothing about The Witcher.
sort of, I don't know. So I'm not like an expert on The Witcher or anything. I've just played the beginning portions of 3 and I've not read any of the books. But from what I
It's just books?
yes. So, oh no, you know what? You know what's even better? That actually ties in even harder to Smash Mouth. The
Were
connections
the
between
books before or after the games?
the connections between Shrek and The Witcher are even deeper than I first thought.
Okay.
So you were saying like, oh, it's kind of shitty of Smash Mouth to be like, oh, why are we the Shrek guys?
Right, yeah. I think it's not great.
So there's a guy, he's Polish, and he's an author. His name is Andrzej Sapkowski, and he writes a bunch of books, and the series is called The Witcher, and it's about a guy who's a witcher named Geralt. And then a Polish company called CD Projekt Red buys the rights to make video games out of these books. Like they buy the licensing to it. And the first game sells copies. It's not great, but it wasn't a flop either. Then the second game comes out and does way better than anyone expected and impresses a bunch of people, especially because CD Projekt Red hadn't really been making full games like that for very long. And yet, for the genre that they were in, they were like significantly more impressive than Dragon Age 2, which had like millions of dollars more budget.
Okay.
Right? Like it was EA and BioWare made Dragon Age Origins, which everyone fucking lost their minds over and loved, and then Dragon Age 2, which disappointed all these people. And then The Witcher 1 comes out of nowhere and builds like no fan base. And then The Witcher 2 comes out of even more obscurity and claps Dragon Age 2. And people love The Witcher 2. And then they put out The Witcher 3, and a lot of people are like, this is fucking amazing. It won Game of the Year that year. It was like so good. Thing is like amazing. And then the author's all like bent out of shape about it. Because he's like, oh, well, I didn't think they'd make this game that is like really puts them on the map and makes them like, one of the most well-liked game development houses. It's like, dude, so many people now know about your fucking books that didn't before. Like, oh, I'm sorry. I'm just some motherfucker in America that wouldn't have heard of it because I don't keep up with the Polish fiction section of my fucking local library that I never visit. When's the last time you were in a library or a bookstore? You're in college. That's actually a bad question. Fuck. Damn it. When was the last time I was in a library? Probably a long time ago, it feels like. Yeah, so like I wouldn't know what the fuck The Witcher is. Like there's a Netflix series that would not have been anywhere. It wouldn't have been made without the games. Like the games are by far the most prolific.
I thought it was based on a game. I didn't even know that was a book.
No, so it's a bunch of books, and then the games I think technically take place after the books, but aren't canonical or something like that. And then they made the show, and then I don't know the show. I don't know. I never watched it.
Yeah, I never seen it.
But from what I can glean from having played,
it's Superman.
Yeah. From what I've gleaned from the beginning parts of the Wild Hunt, I think the setting is like, what if every however long the stars align and random things from things that we thought were fictional get put onto this planet or whatever, and then how does that interact, right? Like, oh, the planet is dominated by elves, and then humans get to this planet where it's like, oh, elves, and then now there's racism. They've officially invented racism.
Good.
Yeah, I mean, the elves make a terrible fucking argument for themselves. Yeah, exactly. The shit was kind of mad boring before we had like teams to root for. But it's funny because like the elves are like never sympathetic, which is interesting. I can't tell if they're trying to be incredibly based or just like that's just what they're going for. Because I feel like the elves are never like sympathetic characters. Because I feel like the only time you interact with elves is when they're like terrorists. Where you're like, okay, listen, racism may be bad, but like you can't be a terrorist about it. Like,
right?
Like, it seems like, I don't know. Again, I'm not super well versed on The Witcher, but it seems like if every Native American dude you met was talking about like having his land stolen, but was also like the Unabomber.
Was also like what?
The Unabomber.
Okay.
Like, it just seems like, oh, okay, well, maybe there's like a valid point in there about, being oppressed and treated poorly or whatever. But then like, all those people that you've been killing that didn't have anything to directly do with that doesn't really square. Like, you're kind of a bad guy for that. Like, you may have started with like the correct thing, but now your ends don't justify your means.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, interesting thorough line between Shrek and Witcher. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk.